There. Morning, my name's Opash and I'm on the marketing team here at Bridgell. I just wanted to thank you all for joining us for our cybersecurity session, where we'll be discussing how to create an effective cyber strategy and ways to help you improve your cyber stance. Just a quick note before we get started. So the session is being recorded. You might have got a notification when you joined, and we'll be sending out a copy of this recording and the slides after the event. So if there's anything that you do want to catch up on, or anyone you want to share the slides or recording with, you can do that afterwards. You'll notice as well that you're on mute, but we do encourage you to use the chat function to ask any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them throughout the session. And we do have one of our experts, David, on hand as well, just to kind of man the chat as well. So if you've got anything that you want to ask, you can do that. We do have a dedicated Q&A at the end as well, where we'll kind of address all the questions there as well. So that's just a few points covered. So what I'll do now is pass you on to our team of experts. So we've got Craig Spears and Emma Brannan, who will be running through the session. So we hope you enjoy and find it useful. I'll hand it over to you, Craig, to get started. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ash. Good morning, everyone. So I'll just move on to the agenda for today. So my colleague Emma will be doing the heavy lifting for this presentation. So we'll start by looking at the evolving cybersecurity landscape, what's changing, why traditional security approaches are struggling, and why a new mindset is needed. From there, we'll introduce the Zero Trust security model, which will be the main topic for this webinar. We'll then move on to the Microsoft solutions that can be put in place for the Zero Trust solution stack, and finally the practical steps to improve your cybersecurity. As Sopa said, David in the chat, so any questions, feel free to ask them throughout the webinar, and I'll be on the chat as well. And I'll just jump on to the next slide. It's just a quick slide about Bridgell. We're 10 times Microsoft Gold partner, multiple certified solutions partnerships. We're Microsoft Content Services Group preferred partner, and we are ISO 9001 and 27001 certified, and also hold Cyber Essentials Plus. We also help our clients get the Cyber Essentials Plus, and ISO 27001. And the next slide, just some of our customers. You can see it's from a range of sectors, from private and public, across a number of industry verticals such as manufacturing, housing, national government, NHS, utilities, and events. Okay, that's the introduction for the agenda and Bridgell done. So I'll pass you over to my colleague Emma.
Hello everyone. We're going to start by looking at the current cybersecurity landscape. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware of the recent cyber attacks we've had on quite big businesses recently. These got quite a lot of media coverage, such as M&S, Co-op, Glasgow City Council, and quite recently on the 31st of August this year, Jaguar Land Rover fell victim to an attack, and I actually believe they're just getting back up and running this week. So that's quite a few weeks they've been totally unable to work and manufacture. So this is obviously having a big financial impact on all these businesses. M&S losing about 300 million, Co-op losing, I think was it 206 million, and even now still, because of loss of reputation, they're losing about 50 million a week. Because of the cyber attack, people are going elsewhere now. So this is a big issue just now. So this highlights the rising importance of cybersecurity, with 4 in 10 businesses and 3 in 10 charities reporting having experienced a cyber breach or attack in the last 12 months. So this equates to approximately 612,000 UK businesses and 61,000 UK charities that have identified a cyber breach or attack in the past year. Phishing attacks remain the most prevalent and disruptive type of breach or attack. A recent IBM report, which looked at data breaches experienced by about 600 organisations worldwide, found that the average cost was 3.3 million. As you can see from this slide, the cybersecurity threats are on the rise, with the emergence of AI allowing more sophisticated attacks, with ransomware being a major threat and the supply chain vulnerabilities being exploited. Nearly every example of AI used for malicious purposes by cybercriminals is in the form of helping writing phishing content, scripts, and finding intelligence about vulnerabilities within specific technologies and software applications. With this, the average cost of data breach has been increased Some businesses are having to rebuild from scratch due to a cyber incident, costing millions of pounds. Most businesses are not set up with a resilient IT infrastructure and would struggle to continue without the technology and the applications they run with their organisation. This is why Bridgel, along with their customers, we are focused on improving cybersecurity to help protect organisations. In this webinar, we will cover a range of simple but effective measures that you can use to improve your protection, as well as the more robust approaches to take your cybersecurity to the next level. So we're going to explain some modern approaches to cybersecurity. The three main cybersecurity strategies that are commonly used are defense in depth, which focuses on having multiple layers of overlapping security to make it harder for attackers to enter the network. Zero trust, which is a more modern approach of security, as it adapts the approach of never trust, always verify, and does not presume that risks are always coming from external. Shared responsibility. This focuses more on cloud security, and it looks at what the provider is responsible for securing versus the customer. We're going to focus on Zero Trust framework and how this can be implemented to secure your cybersecurity. This helps as employees are often the weakest link in cybersecurity chain, with more than half of security incidents are caused by human error. This shows that insider threats need to be protected against. So in today's cybersecurity, it's constantly evolving. The cybersecurity landscape has fundamentally changed and evolved over the recent years, and attackers and technology has got more sophisticated. This is reflected in the rise in cloud computing, hybrid environments rather than on-premise, and AI. Traditional perimeter security is no longer sufficient or as effective as it once was to secure. Email and collaboration tools are also needed to develop developer security. A modern security framework can transform organizational security posture effectively. We'll explore a proven framework that can transform your security and posture, and the real-world implementation of this. So the outdated security and more traditional security focuses on the castle and moat approach. This is a contrasting approach to zero trust security. Traditional security principles assume there's a clear network perimeter and that internal networks are trusted. It also assumes that users work from corporate office, as this used to be the case, and that threats come from outside. And nowadays, we have these additional sort of things to deal with, such as remote work, cloud services, and a lot of insider threats. So remote work is now permanent in most businesses, so there's an added difficulty of users moving locations and even the use of their own personal devices. Cloud services now blur boundaries within data applications, and even users spread across locations, which the traditional parameter security will not cover. A lot of threats originate from inside and outside now. Attackers are being smarter in their attacks, and human error is still a huge risk to businesses, with 60% of breaches involve insider threats or compromised credentials. So this shows that this is an area that needs to be focused on. So the zero trust security is a framework that moves away from traditional model of trusting everything inside a network parameter. Instead, it treats every connection attempt as coming from an unknown source. So all users, whether inside or outside your network, must authenticate and be authorized before being granted access. So never trust, always verify sums up this framework very well. The zero trust approach is a strategy or plan that's deployed after a detailed assessment of all critical data, assets, applications, and services within your environment. By understanding these components, you can then determine how everything is connected and then plan to implement this security concept. So the three key principles of zero trust are verify explicitly. So zero trust requires strict identity verification for every user and device attempting to access your resources. With this, identity verification of users and devices is a continuous process, often at multiple levels. This ensures that the constant monitoring and validation of who can access what. It uses least privilege access, so this ensures that user access is restricted and the security principles of just in time and just enough access are used. This means that it only grants access to systems and applications to authorized users for a minimum time. And assume breach. This plays on the concept that attackers are already in your environment and that they are looking to move sideways or expand their reach and grab more information. So the default approach of Zero Trust is deny all, and this focuses on creating barriers within your environment. It segments the access and ensures a breach is contained to a specific area, limiting the damage on your business. So just to reiterate that the core principle of Zero Trust is to treat every access request as untrusted. So every access request is treated as if it comes from an untrusted network, regardless of location or previous authentication. So in this graphic here, you can see that security policy enforcement is at the center of Zero Trust architecture, and all important components work together to provide end-to-end security. And using this security concept, with protection being applied at each layer, some examples of this is verifying user and device identities with strong authentication and granting least privilege access, monitoring endpoint health and compliance to ensure access, secure access, classifying, labeling, and encrypting your data with access restricted based on this sensitivity, implementing controls to discover unauthorized applications and managing in-app permissions, ensuring all deployed devices meet minimum security and policy requirements and are fully patched, and finally, prevent lateral movement of attackers within your network using network segmentation, encrypt network traffic, and utilize threat detection and prevention tools. And as I mentioned earlier, that a detailed assessment of your environment will help you identify how it all connects and where your security measures need to be applied, which I think this image really helps visualize where it all connects and where you should be applying your security. So the 6 foundational elements of Zero Trust architecture and what it looks to protect are identities, such as users and services, device security, such as laptops, phone, servers, and IoT devices, applications protection, such as SaaS, on-premise, cloud apps, data security, which is your classification, labeling, and encryption, infrastructure, securing your networks, servers, cloud resources, and hybrid environments, using automated patching, patch management, and configuration tools, network, such as VLAN segmentation, encryption in transit, and preventing lateral movement and detecting threats. Each element here must be secured, monitored, and continually validated. Microsoft Zero Trust solution stack is comprehensive and obviously compatible with the Zero Trust framework. There's many tools that you can use for each section of the Zero Trust. So for identity and access, you can use Azure Active Directory, conditional access policies, privileged identity management. To secure your devices and endpoints, you can use Microsoft Intune, Windows Hello, Microsoft Defender for endpoints. And to secure application and data, you can use Microsoft Purview, information protection, cloud app security, and Azure application gateways. And there's many more than this, but these are just the main ones. So here's some things that you can do to implement Zero Trust into your environment. So the first phase and some quick wins that you can do is focus on identity first measures, which is enabling MFA for all users, deploying conditional access policies, and implementing passwordless authentication where possible. Establishing identity governance process and some quick wins would be legacy authentication blocking, risk-based sign-in policies, admin account protection, and adding in regular access reviews. The second phase of implementing the Zero Trust model would be focusing on device and application security enhancements. So to do this on device management, You can deploy Microsoft Intune on all devices, implement compliance policies, enable automatic enrollment for devices, deploy Defender for endpoint. For application protection, you can add in the classifying and labeling sensitive data and implement app protection policies. For your cloud and email security, you can use collaboration tools such as Microsoft Defender for this. In the third phase of implementing, you can look at more advanced protection for network infrastructure and data, which will be implementing network segmentation, deploying Azure firewalls with policies configured, enable network monitoring and analytics, securing cloud workloads. For your data protection, you can implement advanced threat protection across all apps, data loss prevention policies, encryption at rest and in transit again, and a backup and disaster recovery plan and validation. So after you've implemented the framework, there's some key security and business metrics that you can use to measure the success. And this is really what good looks like once you've applied this. So the security metrics you're looking for is a 99.9% MFA adoption across the organisation. You're looking at a 50% reduction in security incidents, in minutes and not hours to detect threats, no successful phishing attempts, and some metrics that you should be looking for from user feedback would be a seamless user experience score of, you're looking at 4.5 out of 5, 30% faster onboarding of new users, and a 25% reduction in help desk tickets, and full regulatory compliance. So some common challenges with implementing the Zero Trust framework is going to be user resilience. So a way to combat this would be a gradual rollout with training and support for users to help them adapt. Legacy application compatibility. So the solution to this would be modernising your applications, creating a plan for this and rolling it out. Having complex existing infrastructure. So a solution for this would be a phased approach to implementing Zero Trust with coexisting planning. So gradually updating your infrastructure. And skills and resource gaps. A solution to this could be working with a partner like us to either get more information or to help with the implementation. So how will this impact your business? The benefits of Zero Trust for business and how it will impact is a reduced breach risk by up to 50%, faster incident response with better visibility, as added alerting and blocking policies will highlight this. Enable secure remote working without the need for a complex and costly VPN, as assuming breach means that users must authenticate to access. And regulated compliance, so complying with GDPR and ISO 2001, for example. And you can undertake a cloud migration with confidence as you know you're now secure. The consequences of not adopting Zero Trust and essentially doing nothing. The average breach cost is £3.5 million, and the average time to identify and contain breaches is 287 days currently. Although this time does vary across different sectors, with the public sector having the average longest time, and reputational damage and customer loss. So the Co-op currently are at a loss of, I think, about 50 million each week in revenue they have now lost, as customers are now going elsewhere. So if you're looking to implement Zero Trust, there's benefits of partnering with a Microsoft expert, as we have proven deployment methodologies, 24/7 monitoring support, regular security assessments. It can be implemented faster, reduce total cost of ownership, and compliance reporting and documentation is also part of this. So what your next steps can be to implement Zero Trust is to conduct a Zero Trust readiness assessment, review your current Microsoft licensing, identify priority use cases and users, and then follow up with the pilot MFA and conditional access, establish device compliance baseline, and plan a user communication and training plan. So in conclusion, adopting Zero Trust is essential to meet modern security challenges. Organisations that embrace this model will enhance protection and compliance, securing their digital future. Zero Trust implementation strengthens organisational security by continuously verifying all access requests. Zero Trust is crucial to effectively address cybersecurity threats and challenges. And embracing Zero Trust ensures organisations achieve ongoing compliance and safeguard their digital assets for the future. Any questions? As Zopash mentioned, we will be sending out the slides with information on it if anyone wants to have a closer look at any of the graphics or information.
I think there's a question in the chat. Emma?
What would you say is the most common cybersecurity mistakes you see organisations doing? I think it is just the lack of assuming breach. They don't treat every request or alert as it being an actual attack or something that isn't right. So I think as the Zero Trust model sort of really reiterates, you need to treat everything as a potential breach or a potential incident. Not sure if the not many questions is good or bad thing. Hopefully everything there made sense and people maybe learned something from that.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks. If there's no other questions, you can always send us a wee message afterwards if there is something that you would like to ask. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up there. Just to say thank you to Emma for a really insightful session, and thank you for joining us on the session today. We hope you found it useful. We'll send, as we said, we'll send you a follow-up shortly with the recording and the slides as well, so you can refer to them. And in the meantime, if you do have any other questions, please do get in touch at contactus@bridgel.com. I'll add all the details in the chat as well if you want to get in touch or see any other events we might have coming up later on in the year or and going into next year. So yeah, I'll round up there, and thank you so much again for joining us, and we hope to see you at another Bridgel event soon. Thank you.